Hello, you're watching Uzreport World News and I'm Bahram Gafar. And here are our top stories for today. President of Uzbekistan Shavkat Mirziyoyev inspected projects being implemented in Khorezm region. Chaotic construction issue on agenda of meeting in Tashkent. The Uzbek capital hosted an exhibition of building materials. Rocketing price for cars faces public backlash. On March 12th, the President of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, inspected projects being implemented in the Khorezm region of the Republic. His first destination was the Free Economic Zone UZREPORT. 19 projects totaling over $306 million are being implemented, employing more than 1,100 people. Mirziyoyev also visited the modern greenhouse organized by Global Food Impacts, located in the Yangayrek district. Located on the territory exceeding 23 hectares, the enterprise employs 140 people. Before this, abandoned land had a saline soil, and now each hectare brings $300,000 to $400,000 of income per year. August of this year will see the second stage of the project. Having reached the full capacity, the enterprise will be able to harvest 4,000 tons of tomatoes and cucumbers per year, as well as grow strawberries, flowers, and other products. 80% of the products are planned to be exported to neighboring countries, including Russia and Turkey. Mirziyoyev visited the Ichankala complex, located in Khiva, which is one of the top destinations among tourists. The UNESCO World Heritage Center was once last resting place of caravans before crossing the desert to Iran. Although a few very old monuments still remain, it's a coherent and a well-preserved example of Muslim architecture of Central Asia. Mirziyoyev inspected the restoration work carried out in Amir Tura Madrasa. The president said that every brick of the ancient architectural monuments has a historical value. He stressed the need to bring Uzbek cultural heritage to the next generations and develop a restoration school for this purpose. The State Labour Inspectorate of Uzbekistan conducted large-scale raids as the government body had received complaints from citizens forced to work overtime and on weekends. An inspection carried out at 3,993 organizations and departments revealed that 2,450 of those were violating the labor law. 1,716 employees were forced to work overtime and another 734 cases were forced to work on weekends. As a result, 5,261 organizations have received a written warning, 465 a written order, and 49 were fined. The fines do not exceed $150, a considerably low penalty when compared to the amounts paid for similar violations in Europe and the US. According to the Department of Labor of the US, willful violators of federal overtime rules may be prosecuted criminally and can be fined up to $10,000. Second-time purposeful offenders can be imprisoned, and the employees who repeatedly violate the overtime requirements are subject to civil money penalties of up to $1,100 per violation. In some drastic cases, employees can face monumental fines and even prison time for their failure to comply with the overtime law. The beginning of the week saw a sharp increase in the price of cars assembled in Uzbekistan. The residents were highly critical of the news posted on the official website of Uzauto. This topic caused heated discussions among the social networks users. The price for demanded cars went up from 3% to 21%. Company representatives attended a parliamentary hearing organized by deputies and commented on the situation.
What is the reason behind the price hike? This is a main concern for many people. According to the manufacturer, the overall cost of production has risen due to the fact that most spare parts are imported and the cost of raw materials is increasing globally. We did our best to keep prices unchanged over the past 2 years. To achieve this, we have done a lot of work. First of all, we increased the level of localization, reduced imports and domestic spending. Due to this, the cost of cars had been reduced on average by 6.5% each year. Unfortunately, most components are still imported. We all know that. Another issue that was raised was the price disparities in the domestic and foreign car markets. Let's take Nexia, for example, which is in high demand. In Uzbekistan, its price starts from $9,101. In Russia, you have to pay at least $9,831. In Kazakhstan, $9,129. There are many rumors in social networks that prices in foreign countries are less if compared to domestic prices. We have analyzed the situation. In fact, these prices are set up by resellers. They are not our official dealers. Following talks, the parties agreed to establish a task force with the parliament monitoring the situation to ensure transparency and the prevention of misunderstandings and misinformation.
Uzbekistan jumped 4 positions in the Rule of Law Index 2020 and is now ranked 92nd out of 128 countries. The latest report was published by the international civil society organization World Justice Project. World Justice Project of Law Index 2020 presents a portrait of the rule of law in 128 countries and jurisdictions by providing scores and rankings based on 8 factors: constraints on government powers, absence of corruption, open government, fundamental rights, order and security, regulatory enforcement, civil justice and criminal justice. Coca-Cola Uzbekistan intends to invest $31 million to further increase its production in Uzbekistan in 2020 and in 2021. Last year, Coca-Cola's share in the non-alcoholic beverages market reached 25% in the local area, and in the sweet carbonated drinks market exceeded 50%. Studies conducted by the company indicate that in the next 10 years, the soft drinks market in Uzbekistan will almost double due to a rapid increase in population and their income, as well as the booming tourism industry in the region. Due to favorable forecasts, Coca-Cola will invest in the modernization of the 3 plants located in Namangan, Urgench and Tashkent. Russia has donated 800 test systems to the Eurasian Economic Union member countries, including Uzbekistan. The test systems manufactured by Novosibirsk Institute help to diagnose a new coronavirus infection and are already being effectively used in Armenia and Belarus. The test kits have also been shared with the governments of Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Mongolia, Iran and Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Currently, there are more than 9,000 businesses producing building materials in Uzbekistan. In 2019, they manufactured close to $1.8 billion worth of products. $44 million worth goods were produced within the framework of localization program, reducing imports by $47 million. An exhibition held in Tashkent served as a platform to showcase domestic products and attract entrepreneurs to the building material production industry.
This year, the production volume of building materials is set to increase to $2 billion with a focus on the production of modern and energy-saving goods. We are facing one of the most important steps to establish the production of concrete products that replace brick walls. We need about 4.5 million cubic meters of gas concrete per year. Today, we are working with entrepreneurs and solving issues to achieve the above figure. At the moment, we have developed more than 70 projects. More than 200 companies participated in the event, with many of them exporting their goods to countries such as Azerbaijan, Afghanistan, Russia and Turkey.
Uzbekistan's international reserves as of February 1st amount to $30.5 billion, according to data provided by Central Bank. The country's reserves are considered as poorly diversified, as all of them are stored in the form of monetary gold and foreign currency. This problem is planned to be solved by future purchases of U.S. Treasury bonds. This was first announced by ex-Finance Minister Jamshid Kuchkarov in 2019. The Tashkent City Administration organized a meeting to address 2 key questions. When will the Tashkent Master Plan be developed? And when will illegal construction come to an end? My colleague has this story.
Uzbekistan's capital Tashkent has seen a massive transformation over the past couple of years. Hundreds of new high-rise buildings are being erected across the city. However, there are instances when the development is not in compliance with the law or have not accounted for the detrimental impact on the environment. As there is no master plan for the city yet in place, citizens are urging developers to hold off on constructions until there is a clear picture on how the city will look in a few years. The sale of land through an online auction is yet another issue of high concern. Instead of putting empty properties and abandoned factories up for auction, some government officials are evicting people off their own land. The event organizers stated that it is difficult to solve all the issues in one day, and for the sake of transparency and communication, regular press conferences will be held to update the population on the progress.
Milan Central Station at rush hour. It's eerily empty, and it's the same situation in many parts of Rome. Deserted streets telling the story of a country on lockdown. Now bars and shops across Italy are closed as tougher restrictions have been brought in to fight coronavirus contagion. In a dramatic televised speech on Wednesday, Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte said all shops would be shuttered except supermarkets, food stores and chemists. Companies have been told to close all non-essential departments. On Thursday morning, queues of people lined up outside supermarkets waiting to stock up on food. Limited numbers are allowed inside and people have to keep a 1-meter distance at all times. Tourist sites like the Colosseum remain empty. Confirmed cases of the virus in Italy rose to nearly 12,500 on Wednesday, with 827 deaths. But on one balcony in Turin, locals struck a note of optimism, with this banner reading, "Everything will be all right."
Japan's Olympics minister was quick to hit back at US President Donald Trump Friday, saying the Olympics are on schedule and, quote, safe and secure.
We are not thinking of reducing spectators at all. I understand the IOC and Tokyo 2020 will make an effort to hold the Games as planned, in coordination with the Tokyo government.
The remarks were made hours after Trump suggested Tokyo should delay the Games for a year amid the coronavirus outbreak.
Just can't see having no people there. In other words, not allowing people. You know, I like that better than I like having empty stadiums all over the place. I think if you cancel it, make it a year later, that's a better alternative than doing it with no crowd.
Officials say Japanese leader Shinzo Abe later spoke with Trump on the phone for about 50 minutes Friday morning Japan time. Trump then tweeted a more upbeat message, calling the just-completed Olympic venue magnificent and saying Abe had done an incredible job and good things will happen for Japan and their great Prime Minister. Friday's comments fit with Japan's efforts to quash speculation that the Games may not go ahead. This year's Olympics have cost the country at least $12 billion in preparations and attracted more than $3 billion in domestic sponsorships.
Hundreds of people gathered for Friday prayers in New Zealand to honor the lives lost in the attack on 2 mosques in Christchurch last year. The shootings left 51 people dead and were widely seen as an attack on the Muslim community. Aya al-Umari's brother Hussein died in the attack. She gazed at the flowers and tributes outside the Al-Noor Mosque, but could not bring herself to go inside.
It really feels like yesterday. The emotions are still raw. We live it day in, day out, but this year-on anniversary, it's just an opportunity for us to come together as a country and reflect on the hate that happened, which caused the loss of lives and ultimately my brother as well.
In an emotional press conference on Friday, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said that the country has fundamentally changed since the shootings, but that there is much more work to be done.
The challenge for us will be ensuring that in our everyday actions, in every opportunity where we see bullying, harassment, racism, discrimination, calling it out as a nation, that is when we'll show that we each individually have a role to play in making sure New Zealand has fundamentally changed for the better.
Ardern was praised across the globe last year for her response to the attacks. In their wake, the country outlawed the weapons used by the gunmen within weeks. Ardern said a Sunday memorial marking the anniversary of the attacks is still supposed to go ahead as scheduled, but she acknowledged that could change if the coronavirus situation in New Zealand gets worse. Brenton Tarrant, an Australian national, faces 92 charges related to the Christchurch attacks. He has pleaded not guilty and will face trial in June.
These were the latest news. Goodbye.